Halo Infinite is a game that Halo fans have been anticipating for a long time now. With its fun multiplayer flights, tight gameplay, and a return to the old art style, there's no doubt the game looks promising. But as the hype grows, so too does the amount of disappointment to happen if the game flops. As good as Halo Infinite is looking, Halo fans won't forget the past two games in the franchise so easily, and the impact, or lack thereof, that those games provided for them. It's no secret that Bungie's Halos are much more loved than the ones made by 343. Whenever you ask a Halo fan which their favorite Halo is, it's almost never 4 or 5. There undoubtedly will be a prejudice against 343 as they roll out another Halo game.
I thought you'd be taller.
So that asks the question, what does Halo Infinite need to be successful in the eyes of Halo fans? A while back there were several big streamers arguing for a Battle Royale mode for Infinite. Dr. Disrespect and Tim the Tatman are two big names that come to mind. They even said things like, the game will be dead in a week if it doesn't launch with one.
Listen, when this game launches, viewership's not going to be good. Okay, like it'll be good for like a week, but then it's just...
Commercially, this sentiment makes sense. A Battle Royale would most likely draw in a few new players without really losing anything in return. But the Halo community pushed back against these statements, and for good reason. First and foremost is that Halo has always been an arena shooter. Halo 2 was one of the games that revolutionized multiplayer shooters for consoles back in 2004. There are many people, myself included, who really just don't enjoy the Battle Royale genre at all. I want quick, fast-paced combat where I can play different game modes on a variety of team sizes. Now, the main argument here is, if you don't like the Battle Royale genre, then just don't play it.
And what doesn't make sense to me is that you can literally still have the best of both worlds. Like, why not? Why not? Why not? Just don't play the BR if you don't enjoy it. Just don't play the BR.
In a vacuum, that statement seems reasonable, but in practice, it really is not. Battle Royales take away resources and development time away from the rest of the game. A Battle Royale forced into a game where the player base is largely against it would only serve to deprive the original Halo fans of what they want in order to appease a small base of new players that are not guaranteed to stick with a game after a couple of weeks. If you think this sounds unreasonable, well, let's look at what happened to Fortnite, the game that sent the Battle Royale genre to the moon. The game was originally supposed to be a PvE co-op game, but once the Royale mode took off, the PvE was pretty much forgotten about. While the new fans didn't care, there were definitely a core of people who were upset that the game they invested in wasn't getting any love. Now, imagine that with Halo fans. The core fan base of that game is much bigger than Fortnite's PvE mode. These are people who have stuck with the game for over 20 years, and in another 20 years, those are the players that are still going to be playing Infinite. Having other parts of the game suffer just to maintain a Battle Royale is a great way to turn these players away. The game is already launching without Forge or co-op, so for the Halo vets, a Battle Royale is on the bottom of the list in terms of priority. Needless to say, Halo does not need a Battle Royale mode to succeed. In fact, I think a Battle Royale mode would be a detriment. Now you might be wondering, what does 343 have to do to make sure this game is a hit? Is it make a great multiplayer with a balanced weapon sandbox and well-designed maps? Nope. What about next-gen graphics and an amazing art style to boot? Also wrong. Well, how about crossplay? Certainly bridging the gap between PC and Xbox players will ensure a healthy community for the game's life. Still wrong. You see, all of these things are great to have, and the best part is that 343 has demonstrated that the game will have all of this. A great multiplayer experience, next-gen graphics, and crossplay. But these things will all mean nothing if Halo Infinite doesn't have this. Can you guess? a great campaign. That, in my opinion, is the #1 most important thing that Halo Infinite needs if it wants to be up there with the greats. It's the reason people are still playing Halo 1 after 20 years. Amazing stories told through incredible moments. That's the one thing Halo fans have been missing since 343 took over. Multiplayer has never been a problem for 343. Halo 4 and 5, I thought, had good multiplayer. It made improvements over Reach, fixed weapon balance, and made the assault rifle good, something Bungie couldn't do in 10 years. And yet, I find myself returning to play Halo 2, 3, Reach, even Halo CE, as broken as that multiplayer is. And that's where I think the main difference between 343 and Bungie lies, in the game's design choices. Bungie makes design choices for campaign, with multiplayer as a second thought. 343 is the other way around. They make design choices based on multiplayer first and campaign as an afterthought. Let's look at Halo Reach as an example. The most infamous new mechanic was 100,000% the reticle bloom. Players hated this. It turned DMR fights into an RNG fest to see who could land a lucky headshot first. With multiplayer in mind, this is a terrible design choice. But the reticle bloom was not designed to be a big feature for multiplayer. It was designed for the campaign. You're a Spartan 3, not a Spartan 2. You're smaller, slower, and the recoil negatively affects you in the form of bloom. This forces you to slow down your shots, and coming hot off the first 3 Halos, this would make you uncomfortable, which is what Halo Reach tried to do. Bungie needed to find a way to make you feel uncomfortable fighting an enemy you've spent 4 games fighting already. The bloom, in combination with the different AI behaviors and alien languages over the comedic English ones, accomplishes this feat pretty well. When viewed through this scope, the bloom is actually kind of cool, but in multiplayer it's trash. Compare this to Halo 4. Halo 4 fixed the bloom. Halo 4 also rebalanced a few guns and made them fun to use. Overall, Halo 4 had a more balanced multiplayer. But now we look at the campaign, and the priority in game design choices becomes obvious. Even though the game takes place after Halo 3, we're fighting elites. Why? Because those were the main enemies we fought in Halo Reach. That's why. They were too lazy to recreate the brutes and make them more engaging to fight, so instead they simply changed the lore so that they could justify fighting an enemy that you already had a truce with. This completely undercuts the great moments in Halo 3 where the elites and the humans come together. Guess which one of these games is more loved by the Halo community? There's more examples all around. Halo 3 has a terrible weapon sandbox. If you don't have a battle rifle, then you are more or less screwed. For some reason, they made all the weapons projectiles without a single hit-scan weapon in the game, so the battle rifle and the sniper rifle both feel a little off. Halo 5 made all the weapons feel great to use. The assault rifle was actually usable, the SMG was a great close combat weapon, and the pistol was back to being the beast that it used to be. And yet, Halo 3 is paraded as an incredible achievement in gaming and regarded by most to be the best Halo game. Halo 5 is usually regarded as one of, if not the worst game in the franchise. Why? Because Bungie put their effort into making a great ending for the Halo series, while 343 made a kind of cool ad campaign. I mean, just look at Halo 3 ODST for God's sake. The game doesn't even have a multiplayer, and yet it's always in contention for being one of the best Halo games. If that doesn't tell you the whole story, I don't know what will. I think I've made it clear what 343 needs to do to make a fantastic Halo game, and they have all the pieces to do it. Their innovation with multiplayer has been fantastic, and I can only hope that it will translate over to the campaign. I really am rooting for 343 here. If the campaign is bad, I will be legitimately sad over it. This is a chance for 343 to really make their mark in the Halo franchise and finally have a game that can stand with the originals. But if 343 fails, well, then I'll have a pretty good shooter for a little while, and then I'll stop playing it, just as I did with Halo 4 and 5.